Helps to unmute myself. Thank you, David. That was fun. Thank your daughter for finding that song for us because it was definitely cool and a new one. So, and thank you everyone who chose to be here today, part of this spiritual community. We know you have lots of choices in this virtual world. So we're delighted you chose to be here with us. And happy Thanksgiving to those of you who were not here with us last Sunday. And for those who were here, do you remember what you told those people in your group, what you were grateful for, what you were thankful for? I invite you to consider for a minute, did your list change during the week? Did it grow? Did you have a different point of view as this very different Thanksgiving Day unfolded this year? Today, the last Sunday of November, we start with a quote from Hafiz that some of you have heard before. Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole world. What does gratitude look like for you? If the sun were to say to the earth, or the moon for that matter, "You owe me," what would be going on? It sounds silly, right, to even suggest that the sun could have expectations on the earth or the moon. What's payback look like if you're the sun? The sun does its own sun thing, and we and all of life as we know it benefit. Any number of the ancient religions or belief systems worship the sun because they saw it as the source of life. The early Egyptians had two sun gods, Ra and Aten. The ancient people of England, maybe the Druids, maybe older than the Druids, built Stonehenge as a sacrificial altar for winter solstice. We're not sure what they did there, but there was something going on because the stones aligned perfectly for winter solstice. So we make up a story that they were trying to recognize that darkest place of the year and encourage the sun to return so the people didn't die. And in other European cultures, they built huge bonfires on the longest night of the year for the very same reason. So like, here's what light looks like, sun, come on back. Because they knew if the sun didn't return, they were in trouble. And the Inca and the Mayan cultures in Central and South America were also sun worshippers. And in ancient Japan, practitioners of the Shinto religion venerated the goddess Amaterasu as the sun mother god and said that she gave birth to the first emperor. And we, modern day American people, just grumble when the sun's in our eyes as we drive in the sunset. So let's think about a different kind of gratitude. Let's bring it on down. Every single animal on the earth requires oxygen to breathe because that's just how we're built. And that oxygen is produced by plants. More than half is produced by plants in the ocean, microscopic algae mostly. The rest of it is provided by freshwater algae and all the green growing things that we plant on purpose or might recognize in nature or in our weedy backyards if we stop to pay attention. Even the scum on your fish tank or in your backyard pond or water feature are sources of oxygen. Have you thought about thanking a plant today for your oxygen? That would be silly too, right? Or would it? We are grateful. We express our gratitude regularly for breath and the ability to breathe. What about feeling grateful for the source of the oxygen that we require? So, what's all this about anyway? It's a reminder about being grateful for all things, every single thing that worked out exactly like we wanted, and every single thing that didn't. All things. Ernest Holmes, in A Holmes Reader for All Seasons, page 62, wrote, "The attitudes of praise and thanksgiving are salutary. They not only lighten the consciousness, lifting it out of sadness and depression, they elevate consciousness to a point of acceptance. Praise and thanksgiving are affirmations of divine presence, the divine abundance, and the divine givingness. It is only when we live affirmatively that we are happy. It is only when we recognize that the universe is built on affirmations that we can become happy. Think about people that you know that are not happy, that are just kind of, their bias is towards being grumpy. What would happen for them? How would their life experience change if they could see the world with the eyes of gratitude? And truthfully, for the rest of us, because it's easy enough to fall in the hole and forget to be grateful for the simple things of our lives. When we remember to look at all things in our world with grateful eyes, a grateful heart, and a grateful mind, almost miraculously, we feel more connected and more supported. Even pond scum supports us. A poem I've used before because it speaks about seeing every single person, place, or thing in our lives in the light of gratitude with a recognition that it supports us is by David Whyte. It's called Everything is Waiting for You. Some of you will recognize this from our classes. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely, even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence, the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you or invite you. And the tiny speaker on your phone is the dream ladder to divinity. Put down the weight of your aloneness and ease into the conversation. The kettle sings even as it pours you a drink. The cooking pots have left their arrogant aloofness and seen the good in you at last. All the birds and creatures of the world are unutterably themselves. Everything is waiting for you. So think about your life, your experiences for this past week, this holiday of Thanksgiving that typically is a gathering. Think about what you did. Think about what you chose. Did you feel supported? Did you feel enlivened? Did you feel uplifted? Do you feel grateful for what happened or what didn't happen or didn't happen the way you wanted? Are you able to see the good in it? Two quotes that I used last week on Sunday, one from Emerson. Cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you and to give thanks continuously. Because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. And then one from Dr. Holmes from This Thing Called You, Shelley's favorite book, page 22. The whole mental scope must be broadened and deepened. The whole expectancy must reach out to more. The whole imagination must lend its feeling to grateful acceptance and recognition. All thoughts of suffering for righteousness' sake, all beliefs that you are being tempted or tried to see if you are worthy of the gift of life, are mistaken concepts of the way the law works. Life wishes to make the gift because in doing so, it flows into its own self-expression. So Friday, I did something I haven't done in a really long time. I drove out to Colossal Cave. It seemed like a really long field trip because I haven't gone anywhere other than the grocery store or the office or my house for the longest time. It took a whole hour. I drove out to the Colossal Cave Mountain Park because I wanted to visit the Civilian Conservation Corps museum that's there. And it was established in the 1930s, to give illiterate, unskilled, unemployed young men work after the Depression and to build something for the future benefit of all. There's also a lot of CCC buildings at Savino Canyon. Well, I drove out. It was exciting, because I went on a road trip and I didn't see any signs for the museum when I got there. So I walked as if I were going to the cave tour. And I asked the ticket clerk where the museum was and how I could get in. And she looked at me and she slumped down a little bit. She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's closed. COVID. Okay, well, so I was here. I'd come out to see what I could see. So I walked around the office and the gift shop and the entrance to the cave. I wasn't dressed for the cave tour, so I didn't take it. And I found a bronze statue of a young man without a shirt on and a hat, and a plaque to all the young men who had built the roads and the stone walls and the buildings and the trails. And I thought, okay, so I can still find what I came for. I just can't find it the way I planned. So I walked around on the outside of the buildings, and I walked down a couple of trails. And when I got to the end of one of the trails, I looked back up the hill, and I could see the whole superstructure all at once. I could see all the buildings, all the stonework, and all the stuff that those basically kids, because they targeted 19 to 25-year-olds back in the 30s, all the stuff that these kids built for posterity. So I got to see their handiwork. I got to see everything that I came to see, except for, like the details of who was important those days. And I got to see it even if I couldn't get into the museum. So I could find gratitude for this trip, for this desire I had to go learn about this group of people. And I could learn it, I just couldn't quite get there the way I planned. So from our friends the Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, who I talked about in the newsletter last week, he had a quote: "Convince yourself that everything is a gift of the gods. Things are good and always will be." Meaning, you have to look at it all and figure out some way to see it's all good, even if it looks like it's really not good, even if it looks like it's horrible and miserable and yucky. It's all good because it's all for our good. So, how is it possible for us to look at this year that has been really, really, really difficult for a lot of people? We didn't create it, we didn't cause it directly. But stuff happens, right? How do we see things when they happen and they're not necessarily obviously pleasant? How do we see them as being for our benefit? One of the conversations we have in the morning practice quite often is another thing we've discovered about how this staying home and being somewhat sequestered has been beneficial to us. And a lot of it is our ways of communicating across space that, had we been living normally like we did last year, we wouldn't have been able to reach out, and it wouldn't have been so simple or apparent to us to reach out as it has been this year, because it's been our primary way of communicating. So We have to look for the gifts. We have to look for the gifts. And if we look, they're there. And sometimes we can't see them right away because it takes a while for the whole story to unfold in a way that's useful for us. So, how do we become more attentive? How do we become more awake? How do we become where we have the point of view to look for those gifts, the glimmer of light? There's an old joke that will also be familiar to some of you that is, if you find yourself in a stable full of manure, you have a couple of choices. You can be grumpy about having to move this manure. You can look at it as fertilizer for the garden, or you can assume that if there's this much manure, there's got to be a pony in there somewhere. We have to be able to find that glimmer of light. And usually we can find it when enough time has passed and we can see the bigger picture. We can see the whole view. And I look forward to the debrief, 10 years in the future, what we have all learned about this experience of being in COVID for this time. Another of the Stoics, Epictetus, wrote, "It is easy to praise Providence for anything that may happen if you have two qualities. One, a complete view of what has actually happened in each instant, and two, a sense of gratitude." So, how long does it take to see the whole picture? Sometimes we never do. We never have all the pieces of the story that allow us to see all the great good that comes from experiences that we have. And I'm reminded of a famous quote from that goofy and sweet movie, Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, that most of us have seen. Everything will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end. So we have to keep our hearts and minds and eyes open to the goodness that surrounds us, even if it doesn't look like goodness at the moment. And pay attention when we do see goodness. Find gratitude for it, because that increases the opportunity that we'll experience our lives more gratefully. And we know, as Shelley said earlier, I'm reminding you of what you know already. When we look for something, that's what we see. So I want to close with a process of gratitude from Cynthia James. And I'm very much looking forward to her being our guest speaker on December 13th in 2 weeks. You don't want to miss her. She's quite marvelous. But here is her process for gratitude. Number one, celebrate what has been accomplished this year. Number two, honor how you have grown. Number three, give thanks for abundance in all its forms and how it has shown up way beyond your expectations. Number four, the moment you wake up in the morning, give thanks for something. I can breathe, I can see, I have a home, I'm safe, I'm healthy, my family is safe as far as I know, and so on and so on and so on. One of my friends who's a mathematician says he gives thanks for the number zero because it's hard to do math without the number zero. Number five, get a journal. Write 5 new things you can honor, recognize, remember. Do this every single day. And from our gratitude practice this month, you can also include things that delight you, colors or textures or tastes or shapes or whatever. What delights you? What brightens your point of view? Number 6, send a text or a message of gratitude to family or friends that support you, that you feel like they have your back. Number 7, write a card or a letter that antique thing called snail mail, and send it or email them. Notes of appreciation are always welcome, always. That's wonderful. And then number 8, I love. Put love notes around your house and office space to yourself. Remind you of the blessings that flow as you. Number 9, each day give thanks for the day and all the gifts you have received, whether they are large or small. So keeping our focus, keeping our intention really dead focused on this thing of gratitude gives us a chance to see it. And number 10, each and every day with your spouse or partner or friend or pet, recognition to the other person or the other being, what gifts they bring to your life. And then number 11, make a visual reminder, like a vision board with pictures and words of things that have blessed you in your life so far. So it's a reminder, a rememberer of the good that exists now. You could do this electronically as well as physically. And then Cynthia closes with, my gratitude for you, the reader. And I add, for the listener, and include this as my gratitude for you as well. I want you to know that you matter in my life. So here are the things that inspire me about you. I am grateful that you continue to seek ways to grow and heal, that you bring your heart and love to so many people, that you walk this path of freedom, exploring it with me, that you fall down and you get back up again, that you dare to dream and imagine, that you move into action even when you're afraid, and are learning to love yourself more and more every single day. It's a lot. Life is a lot right now. But remember to see the blessings in yourself, to see them in your world, and focus on those good things. And if it doesn't look good right away, know that there's good in there for you, somehow, somewhere, some way. And look for it, because it is there. Do this. Bless yourself and bless us all. Thank you. So now I want to roll on into the prayer. And as you all know, we pray affirmatively around here, which is just to declare the good we wish to see and remember and know. So if I've said something or if something has come to your mind that you want to put in the front and focus on as your experience and expression of good, put that right there as I speak these words. So I breathe into this whole and holy silence, knowing the divine presence enfolds and enwraps, infills each and every individual. This one life, this one mind, this one heart presents itself to and through every single being. And each one always has the opportunity to be and see and practice living in this greater good, living in this more abundant universe, this more generous life. So I rest in that truth. I let that feeling blossom in me as though it were a flower. And I smell it and I taste it and I feel the texture of what it would be like to live a more generative, more abundant, more luscious life as an emanation of the divine, as a being of the God self, as me. And I know that same truth for and about every single being on this call. Each one lives, moves, and has their being as divinity in form. So I gratefully recognize this. I gratefully acknowledge it. I gratefully find joy in that remembrance, in that knowing, in that practice. And I know each one has the experience of feeling blessed and of being a blessing to others as we continue to practice this practice. Feeling joy and delight for each one who has chosen to be part of this group today, and for everyone who has participated in creating this experience. I see the great goodness. I celebrate it. I allow it. I let it be. And so it is.